Hey friends, Sean here from the beautiful wonders of South Africa. This is episode number 3 on the Purpose Inspired Life podcast. Now, why did I call it the Purpose Inspired Life? If you haven't watched episode number 1 and 2, you won't know. So go back and watch episode number 1 or 2. I say watch. It is available both on YouTube as a video, but also as audios on your favorite podcast channels and hosting channels. So Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, etc. So most of these episodes I will post to my website, smswillard.com/podcast. You'll find it on there, but also on all of the social media channels. I'll try and release a podcast or a video podcast every Wednesday with a few little extra videos and audios in between as well, just to encourage you on your journey. For those of you who haven't met before, my name is Sean Willard, and as I say, we stay in the beautiful winelands of South Africa. And my background is pharmacy, and then I moved across back in the mid 2000s, end of 2000. I started coaching with guys like Les Brown and John Maxon and others in order to discover and live my purpose. And so it's all about living life from the inside out. Now, in episode number 1, we talked a bit about the purpose inspired life. And episode number 2, we talked about that one word that can radically change the results that you get in your life. But at this time of the year, and as you listen and watch this might be at a different time of the year, make this your time of the year. But at this time of the year is always a great time to plan, do, check, and adjust, right? I've just come through my birthday month in November, and that's always a time for me as well to kind of check and adjust. Well, how do I want to live my next year? So thinking forward, and it's always great to begin with the end in mind and call those things which are not as if they are. So how do I want my next birthday, next November 2025, how do I want to feel in that space? Where do I want to be in that space? And to kind of reflect backwards and then plan forwards. So it's a great time to do that. And I want to use the next 2 or 3 episodes to do just that with you. So for those of you on this journey with me, take it as an opportunity to really get practical about your 2025. Now, let me just pause here for a moment. Please listen to me. This is the most important part of what I'm about to say to you is now. Never procrastinate or postpone your living for a Monday or a Sunday or a 1st of January New Year's resolutions. Don't do that. Plan, do, check, and adjust is great to do at the end of a day, at the end of a week, at the end of a month, and the end of a year. I learned that from my mentor, John Maxwell. So I encourage you to do that, but that not to postpone your living because of that. So as we plan and we look into 2025, yes, one of the things that so I'm going to be sharing a couple of podcasts around that and audio and videos. One of the things I realized for myself is that people do one of 2 things generally. When they get stuck in their life, it's because of 1 or 2 reasons. Either they've looked at their goal or their vision for the year and they just absolutely freeze. Fear overcomes them, anxiety overwhelms them, and they just don't know what to do, and so they just freeze. The other side of that equation is very often is people throw themselves into achieving their goal with absolute vigor and enthusiasm, and potentially go overboard. You've seen or maybe experienced this for yourself. The gyms are always very, very booked up and busy on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. It starts to dribble down of January because of the New Year's resolutions. People have committed themselves not to get into shape, and they're pumping the iron and they're running on they're doing the cardio, they're running on the treadmill, etc. By the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th of January, they can't move. Walking around with the watermelons, because they just can't move. They've overdone it. So there's usually sort of that 1 or 2 reactions or responses to setting my goal. Is either I become absolutely frozen in fear and anxiety, like, how am I going to accomplish this? Or I take action and I really get going, but I lose momentum. I lose my enthusiasm. I literally just overdo it. How do we find that happy balance, as it were, in order to achieve your goals? Because this is really about getting you the results in 2025 that potentially you haven't got in 2024 or 2023. Maybe you have, and then you kind of slip back. So encouraging those of you who find yourself in that place of stuckness right now. Now, for some of you, it might be a health goal that you particularly come into this podcast with on your heart right now. Some of you, it might be a relationship goal, financial goal. Maybe you want to travel a little bit. There's something specifically that you've really wanted to do, and you've been postponing it. You've done that someday I'll approach, and you think someday I'm going to get to that. Someday I'm going to do that. So how do you really get going? Now, here's my experience over the last 15 odd years as a coach. There's a big difference between your vision, your goals, and your plan. And we'll go into the sort of maybe the intricacies of the vision, the goals, and the plans further down the line. But I just, as a broad picture, what I've found, and I just use this sort of metaphor, is that most people are looking at Mount Everest, and they want to scale Mount Everest. They want to get to the summit, but they never get going. They never take the first step. They get frozen in fear. So when they come to me as a coach, and they want to coach around writing that book, running that marathon, buying that house or whatever it might be, that Mount Everest seems absolutely insurmountable. They've got that vision, that's the vision of their life, that's the dream that they have, but they just never start. They never get going. They procrastinate. What we like to say is they label tapes, right? Have you ever labeled tapes? You know, that idea of you'll find anything to do, but the first thing that needs to be done in terms of fulfilling their vision. So I'm going to give you 3 quick pointers on this episode. I'm going to keep it short and sweet and to the point. 3 quick points that could be helpful to you in terms of hitting your goals, achieving your goals in 2025. And the first thing I want to encourage you to do is buy the boots. Sean, what do you mean? Buy the boots. What's the first thing that you need to do in order to scale your Mount Everest, your Mount Kilimanjaro, that vision that you have for your life? What's the first thing that you need to do? You know, sometimes we get stuck just at the very, very beginning because we're thinking about all the different intricate activities and plans and things that I need to do in order to get to the summit. And it becomes overwhelming, folks. Just buy the boots. Take the first step. I think back to something practical for myself, which I refer to quite often 3 years ago when I decided I want to become healthier. I want to exercise more consistently, do things more consistently. And I decided I'm going to start first cycling, and then after a couple of weeks, I realized that wasn't going to work, walking. And I committed myself to walking 3 times a week, 10, 15 minutes. And I just started. I first of all actually bought the tackies, the sneakers, literally. But metaphorically speaking, I bought the boots. I got out and did 10 or 15 minutes. Now, it's kind of like if you want to floss every evening, it's like flossing the first tooth. It's like doing the first push-up. It's like drinking the first glass of water. It's like walking the first mile. Most people don't take the first step. They don't buy the boots. They never get going. They never write the first line in their book. They're going to write a book. They want to write a book, but they become overwhelmed by the idea of where would I start and how would I publish this? Folks, don't worry about the publishing. Write the first line of your book. Buy the literal tackies to go walking, or the swimming costume to go swimming in, whatever it might be. What is the first thing that you need to do? Buy the boots. Start small, start now, but start. Don't get overwhelmed and don't get bogged down by all the different details of your big vision. Have a big vision. Have a goal, have a big, hairy, audacious goal, that BHAG that people talk about, but don't have a BHAG plan. Let me say that again. Don't have a BHAG plan, big, hairy, audacious goal plan. First plan is buy the boots. What's the first thing that you can do today? Not tomorrow, not Monday, not the 1st of January. What's the first thing you can do today in order to move you in the direction of your dream? That's step number 1. Buy the boots. Second thing is mind your matter. because it is an inside matter. I know I just did that. It's an inside matter. Your matter matters. Your inside matter. What are you saying to yourself? What are you thinking? And very often we can't catch ourselves in that thinking space. But we're continuously sowing seeds and receiving seeds into our thinking space. Very often we have to catch ourselves at the emotional space, at the feeling space. We start to begin to see the fruit of what we've been thinking. Like an hour later, after berating yourself and how bad you are, and you should never have eaten that jam donut. you know what I mean? Or you should never have said that thing to that person, or whatever the case is. You feel an emotion, you catch yourself there, and then you realize, aha, I've been thinking this way, I've been speaking this way, my matter. I've been thinking this way and speaking this way to myself for the last half an hour, maybe an hour, maybe a day, maybe a week, who knows how long. That's where you catch yourself. Slowly but surely, as you mind your matter, you begin to see your inner talk and your inner thinking. You can change that whole process. You can begin to sow better seeds into your thinking. Your matter matters. Your thinking matters. It's because those thoughts do become things. They don't just become things, but the thought does reap a harvest of emotion that reaps a harvest of action that changes, obviously, all of your behaviors and the results that you're getting. And therefore, we need to change our thinking in order to change our results ultimately. Mind your matter. Buy the boots. Mind your matter. And then thirdly, and this kicks back into point 2 and point 3, is live intentionally. Live intentionally and start with gratitude. I will harp on gratitude probably every podcast episode. If you're listening to this right now, this is something so important for you, as it has been for me. I know the days that I have not started in gratitude. I can feel the difference in my heart. I can feel the difference in my emotions. I can feel the difference about the way my day goes. Make gratitude the bookends of your day, the beginning and the end. Give thanks. Give thanks. It changes something. When you live intentionally, not by default, but by design, when you actually begin to sow that seed by design, you choose to sow that good seed into your thinking space, mind your matter. You choose to give thanks over that first step, that you celebrate your mini win. You went out for that 10-minute walk this morning. You flossed that first tooth. You did that first push-up. You wrote that first line. You made that first call. You smiled more today. You hugged somebody. You were kind. There was a random act of kindness, whatever it might be. Whatever that small thing is, you give thanks over that at the beginning of your day in anticipation for it. And at the end of your day, as you reflect on your day, wow, what a difference that makes to your goal achievement. 3 key points. Buy the boots, folks. Start small. Start now, but start. I often say, set the bar for your goals. Set the bar high enough to stretch you, but not to break you. So often I've seen this with goal setting, with clients and myself, that you set the goal far too high, and then you just become disillusioned, and you're disillusioned either before you start, or you take the first few steps, and if metaphorically speaking, like the high jump, you try and jump, and you just don't get there. You keep missing the mark for yourself, and eventually you just give up because you're disappointed in yourself. Maybe you're embarrassed about your feeble attempt at, jumping 6'2" or whatever the case is. And for you, a stretch would have been 5'2", whatever it might be. Set the bar high enough to stretch you, but not to break you. Folks, this is your opportunity to make 2025 an incredibly successful year. Success for me is what I think Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, one of them, said, is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Maybe that was Earl Nightingale. Sorry if I misquote somebody out there. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So it's a journey that you're going on. It's about who you are becoming on the way to achieving your goal. And we'll talk more about that in a future episode. Let me recap. I don't want you to leave this podcast with just pie in the sky when you die by and by. I want it to be steak on your plate while you wait. I want you to be able to apply what I'm saying to you. You've got this vision. You've got this dream. And maybe you've packed it away in a suitcase somewhere and popped it under the bed. No, take it out, unwrap it again, and say, look at that vision, that dream for your life. Great, you've got that. Now think to yourself, what is the first thing I can do today? Buy the boots. What's the buy the boots for me in order to achieve that goal, that dream for my life in 2025, starting now? What's the smallest thing I can do? Setting the bar high enough to stretch me, but not break me. What is my thinking around that goal? Immediately I start thinking, maybe in reverse, I start thinking, I've never been able to achieve that before. Oh my goodness, how am I ever going to achieve that? Sean, you don't know my circumstances. My circumstances suck. I've tried this before. It doesn't work, etc., etc. Mind your matter. Cancel. Stop that. Strike that. Get it out of there and start changing your thinking. And the way you do that is point 3, give thanks. Find a reason to be grateful. There's always a reason to be grateful. Always a reason to be thankful. Find that smallest thing that you can be grateful for, that you can be thankful for, and start giving thanks in the morning, first bookend of your day, and then at the end. That's the end bookend of your day. Give thanks. Life is so great. Life's so amazing. I hope this has helped you today on episode number 3 on the Purpose-Inspired Life. Do me a favor. If you're enjoying these, like, comment, please share them around, whether it's through the podcast hosting channels, and say Apple Music or Podbean or off my website, social media. Share these with your friends. Invite them to journey with us in this community as we're setting out on this journey together. Just episode number 3 so far. And if you haven't watched episode number 1 and 2, do that as well. Every like, every comment, every share, especially on YouTube and these other channels, help to get the word out there, the message out there about the podcast, about the audio, and about the video. We appreciate you, really love you. Regards from the beautiful islands of South Africa. This has been Sean, and until later, God bless. Cheers.